Welcome to the Tenant Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson here in Denver, Colorado, and 395 miles away in the virtual realm in Rapid City, South Dakota, is my good friend, partner, and co-host extraordinaire, Wes Brown.
Two weeks in a row. Oh my God, that's a badge of honor. Wow, we're in rare form tonight. I'm not on drugs, but we're going to have some fun. And we have a phenomenal artist that we're going to talk to. Why don't you introduce her?
So we do have a phenomenal artist. And if you are in the know in the Denver art scene, you have probably run across this artist at one point or another. And if not, you're going to get exposed to this wonderful artist and muralist. Her name is Alexandrea Pangburn. Alex, how are you this evening?
Good. Thanks, guys. That was quite the intro. So nice.
Thanks.
So you are actually pretty new to the Denver art scene. You are not originally from Denver. Where did you grow up?
No, originally from Lexington, Kentucky. I was actually born in Winchester, England. So 2.5 years of my life was overseas. And moved to Kentucky and was there until I was 17. So yeah, I pretty much spent most of my life there in Kentucky.
Were you always interested in art? Did you do art as a child?
Yeah, always. My mom was like very much into the whole craft scene. I have 3 younger brothers and we're all pretty close. And so to be able to keep us all from running around crazy, we were just crafting all of the time. She'd always take us on little road trips and we do plein air painting at the creek and stuff like that. So we were always arting. All of the art classes in school, we all always took. So yeah, it was something that was a big part of our lives. And my mom was an art teacher for a while. So yeah.
Did you think as a child that you were going to be an artist someday?
No, because I don't know, you're always told that like artists never make any money and you're always struggling. So that was something that just from a young age, I was kind of told that I couldn't succeed at. And then my other passion was animals. And so I always wanted to be a veterinarian. So that was kind of the route that I took initially.
Right on. So even though your mom was an art teacher, she wasn't like ultra like pushing you to be an artist or anything like that?
No.
She's like, go get a degree
like,
in something where you can make money.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds like my dad. Get a job.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to college. Get a job. So.
Yeah. So we were definitely all pushed to get a college education, and art was something that was not really like a big part of what we needed to do as like a job. So it was always a hobby.
Are your other siblings, are they artists at all?
So my youngest brother is an architect. The middle one, he is in fashion, which is definitely its own form of art. And then the one closest to me, he is in music, which is another creative realm, but he's also a really great visual artist as well.
Nice. Wow. Very artistic family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my understanding, you went to University of Kentucky.
I did. Yeah.
Go Wildcats.
Yeah. Best basketball team out there.
There you go. I used to go to, my dad is a big thoroughbred horse racing fan. So we'd been down to Keeneland a couple times and, did that in the Kentucky Horse Park. And so been to Lexington a few times. Beautiful, beautiful town. Beautiful town.
Did you ever go and do the Parade of Breeds at the Kentucky Horse Park?
Is that the sculpture?
No, so that is the barn, and it's like all
yes.
of these girls like dress up in costume and like ride around in the ring and stuff like that. So I did that for 2 years.
Oh, what year did you do that? Do you remember?
So that was 2006 and 2007.
That might have been
did you travel
about the
out there?
time. I did. I
did
did travel
see me
out there.
Dressed up as a gypsy?
I might have. Because we would go to, like, John Henry was there. So my dad's a huge, my dad actually has a bridle of John Henry's when he turned 30.
Oh, no way.
That he bought. Yeah. And it's framed and hanging in his dining room.
That's amazing.
And his directions to the framer was, do not clean that bridle. It's got John Henry DNA all over it. Leave it.
That's so funny. Yeah. He was an old guy when I was there.
Yeah.
Old
yeah. he lived to be what, 34, 35 or something like
in his
that?
30s for
Yeah,
sure.
he was an old horse. But anyway, we digress. But I like that connection.
Yeah, that would have been real funny if you happened to just be in the audience of one of those shows.
I remember you. I think I do. Did you wear blue, baby blue?
Yeah, actually. My Arabian costume was baby blue.
I know we watched those because it was kind of, you'd bring out the different breeds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember that now that you said that. So, but anyway, yeah, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, Todd. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to jump back in here. We're going to talk about art.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Actually, I think that's pretty cool that you were part of that whole thing, and maybe Wes saw you.
We could have.
So how do you get from going to school and getting a degree? You had got a degree in animal science.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To transitioning into being, like full-time artist.
I think there was a lot of things that happened between me getting my degree and where I'm at now. Is that like almost 10 years? It's a very long story. I don't know where you want me to start, but basically when I graduated with my degree, I had a minor in equine management. And so I knew that I wanted to do horse farm management. So I moved up to Northern Ohio to run an equine rescue in Wyandotte County up there. And so I ran that rescue for a year and a half, trained and rescued 40 horses all at one time, lived up there all by myself on like 20 acres and really helped build that to what it is today, which was super fun to be such a huge part of. But just, always did art while I was up there. Also, I continued to like do little paintings for like myself. And I created the logo for the rescue that they're using right now. So always integrated art into my life. Before I moved back, so when I was at the farm, kind of realized that this wasn't something I could do forever. It was very strenuous. So I moved to Columbus, Ohio, and picked back up being a veterinary technician, which I had done in Lexington before I had moved to Ohio. And so did that. I loved it. Just really struggled financially and really felt that I needed to do something else to help make money so that I could survive and pay my student loans. And so I decided to paint pictures of the client's dogs. So like pull them to the back whenever they were getting shots or, getting groomed or whatever. And I'd take pictures and then I would paint portraits. And then when they came in again, I would bring the portrait in and be like, hey, I just painted this picture of your dog. Your dog was so beautiful. And, you can have first dibs on it if you want, but otherwise it'll probably just go into this show. And they were like, oh yes, of course. And so they always bought it. And then it kind of turned into a word of mouth situation where, they told their friends and their friends told their friends. And so that year following that, I was booked for an entire year in pet portraits. I was like dogs and cats and cows and snakes and hamsters. It's like a whole gambit of animals. But yeah, so that was really where I started B&D Portraits, which was B stands for Benson, who's my dog, and then D for Dude, who is my horse. And yeah, so I did that, and that kind of jump-started everything.
So I got to ask, how much were you charging for those portraits?
My gosh. It's like embarrassing.
No, I want to hear.
Like $15,
15?
like $25.
Wow.
Yeah, for like an 8x10, it was $25.
You have first dibs, but it's going to go up for auction. And but here's 15.
Yeah. And but I had no idea also. I had no idea where I was pulling that price from. I just kind of decided that I wanted to sell my art and I wanted to make it accessible to everybody. And I didn't want to charge hundreds of dollars for something that, I had no name. I was just doing this to make extra money. So I
think artists do that all the time. When they're first starting out, they just pull a number out, know, and maybe they get some input, maybe they don't. And, and then eventually, like you say, you start paying your dues and you feel like, hey, if they're going to pay 15, maybe they'll pay 50,
Yeah.
But I just thought it was kind of a racket, your dog's getting shots, then you come back and you got to buy a portrait. I was like, that's awesome. Like shots are 75, but hey, here's a painting, 15.
I'm surprised that the vet clinic didn't say anything to me about it. I'm sure that they thought it was funny too.
It's cool that they were cool
I
with
think
it,
that's, I think that's awesome. No, I mean, it's kind of funny because it does sound like a racket in the sense like, if you want your dog back, you got to pay for the painting.
I never held a dog hostage. I promise.
I'm just kidding. No, but way to be creative and, using your talent to help offset some funds, that's awesome. No, that's cool.
You booked a year out, you said?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
An entire year in advance. It burnt me out on them, but it definitely started my art career.
I want to see the guy that came in with his hamster, or the lady. I'll just say a guy that, here's my pet hamster, Barney. I'd love to have a portrait, and I want it, not life size. I want it big.
Yeah.
Like 8 by 10.
Always the big ones that were funny. They wanted just like giant portraits of their animals. So
that's so awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing that story. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So go ahead, Todd. I lost train.
So how do you happen to end up in Colorado? Because Ohio and Colorado are like two different worlds in a lot of ways. And I'm from Ohio. I
was just going to say, we always discover Ohio through our travels on the Tenant podcast. He was born there.
I like the Ohio connection because I think great things come out of Ohio. I always say that. So
even if you're just transient through, I drove through Ohio once.
It's in the water.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
So how did you make that jump to move to Colorado?
Yeah. Well, I guess speaking of good things that come out of Ohio, my boyfriend is from Cleveland and I met him living in Columbus, and he kind of had this whole journey already set that he was coming out here. And so he asked me to come along with him. I had never been out here before and came out with him just to see how it was. Just was taken aback by the art scene here and the street art. You just don't see that anywhere in Ohio. And I had never seen it anywhere before. So of course I was like, yes, this place is amazing. So we ended up moving out here in 2017. And before moving out here, I had heard of Crush and just really wanted to be involved in it. So I reached out to the art district directly, and they ended up pushing me to Tracy Weil, who's the president of the art district. And they were just starting the Rhino Made store, which is the Rhino Art District retail gallery that was existent at the time. And we were in the Source marketplace. So reached out to him and he was like, hey, we're starting this store. We have some positions open just as like a retail associate. And I didn't have a job when I moved out here. I left my job back in Ohio and just kind of started fresh. So I decided, well, that was probably my like way in to be able to be a part of Crush at some point in the future. And so I did the retail associate, and I had a lot of management background and just kind of took it upon myself to be in this management role, and eventually got titled manager of the Rhino Made store and kind of ran it and put a lot of the artists' artwork together and curated the space and ended up managing a lot of the employees. So from there, that's really what I was doing. And then in 2018, I applied to be part of Crush and got it. And then last year, I ended up helping run Crush. And this year, I'm helping run Crush as well.
So can you talk about Crush for our listeners that aren't from Denver?
Yeah, absolutely. So Crush Walls stands for Creative Rituals Under Social Harmony. And it's a mural festival every year that is based on kind of like bringing together multiple artists from all over the world into this 1 week span. We ended up painting, last year we painted over 120 walls, and it's all within like a 2-mile radius. So we had, I think, almost 200 artists take part in last year. And this year we have a little over 100, and we'll be doing closer to 50 installations. Yeah, it was a great entry to the art scene, and I really appreciate all the opportunity I was given to be able to be a part of that. And I knew that they took a chance on me just letting me do that huge wall next to Il Posto. And I about pooped my pants whenever they told me what wall I was going to do, because I had never done a mural that size and I had never even used spray paint before. So I was really lucky that it turned out as well as it did.
That's awesome. What's the mural that's on that wall? Which one is it?
So the mural that I did in 2018 was a Western Tanager. I did that with my boyfriend. He helped me do that. And then last year ended up doing the same wall with local artist Ramel, who is my creative director for Babe Walls. She's also a really talented artist here in Denver. And then this year I'll be doing also that same wall with artist Olive Moya. So I guess at this point it's kind of been named the wall that I've done for 3 years in a row.
So every year you paint a different mural over it.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that pretty common for muralists to have, like, they'll do a wall and then maybe somebody else will come along and paint a different one later, or they might come back and paint another one?
Yeah. So during Crush specifically, those walls are kind of known to change every year. So there are a few walls that change every single year. Some of them are contracted a specific number of years due to the building owners. And then other ones, just because they're so great, they end up staying for a long period of time. But we usually say that like the average length is like 2 to 5 years for a mural in the art district.
Nice.
Is it hard to paint over something that you have put so much time and effort into the year before?
Yeah, I think I cried last year when they buffed my Tanager. But also just like understanding that that is part of it and that it gets to like breathe new life into like a new year. And as an artist, you're always progressing. And so just to kind of showcase that growth as an artist each year is important, more important than being nostalgic, I guess, to me.
Obviously you have images of and maybe on an Instagram page or anything, or?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's good. On my Instagram.
It's on your website too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Yep.
Yeah. Prior to that, I mean, you move here and then within a year you're painting walls. How does that happen? I mean, I think that's pretty amazing that you come from someplace geographically, you know, across the nation, right? And you land in Denver and all of a sudden you've just inserted yourself into the art community. Did you find it really supportive and welcoming when you got here?
I think being in the position that I was running and managing Rhino Made, I had a lot of interactions with local artists. I was intaking their work. I was managing the sales of their work. So, and I also just enjoy people. So I made a lot of friends with them. And I also think that Tracy Weil was just very supportive of me and always gave me opportunity to do artwork. So I think that it was really just knowing all of the people that were part of that scene and networking and making friends with them and connecting.
How scary was it to paint that first wall? I mean, you had your boyfriend with you, so you were a team, but
yeah,
I imagine, I don't know, to me, that seems monumental. Like if I had to paint, a wall, and I'm not a painter, obviously, but kind of scary.
Yeah, it was super scary. I had done one mural in Columbus and it was with hand paint and I had a ladder and it was like 7 feet off the ground. So very manageable. And when I learned what wall I was doing for Crush in 2018, it's like a 24-foot tall wall and it's like 23 foot wide and just like massive. And then not to mention, it's also in a very busy part of Rhino. And so that was the first year I had ever been to Crush because the previous year we hadn't lived here yet. And so just to have all of those people walking around and you're trying to like do this brand new thing that you've never done before. Everybody is like watching you. Yeah, it was terrifying, but I feel like I had a lot of really great support and I was lucky to have Sky with me. And yeah, so it didn't make it as scary.
And painting where you did you get a lot of, obviously a lot of people would see that mural. Did that help you in getting other walls?
Yeah, that really kickstarted everything. Pretty soon after that, I was contacted by a couple that had me do the stairwell in their condo. And that was really challenging to go from a flat wall to doing 3 levels of stairs. So I had to work with stairs. It was a huge learning experience. it was super fun. It took me a little over a month to do, and I know that they love it. And it's fun to see like how my style has kind of like progressed from doing that first mural into what it is today.
And that's that private commission 7 Mall Stairwell. Is that
Yep.
one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really, really awesome work. I love that. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now how many murals have you painted since you've moved here?
Oh my gosh. I maybe close to 15 or 20. I did one in Kentucky. I went home last year for Prohibition, which is the mural festival in Lexington that happens every year. And they only bring in very few amount of artists. So I had reached out to them just be like, hey, my name's Alex. Like, I'm originally from Lexington. Would love to do something with Prohibition in my hometown. Just would appreciate it if, there was an opportunity and you saw fit. And they reached back out and they were like, hey, we're full at the moment, but if somebody drops out, we'll let you know. And then like a month till they reached out and they were like, hey, so our artist dropped out. Do you want to come in and do this? And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that'd be so fun. So of course, like my parents were ecstatic. I was like coming back to like do a mural in Lexington, and they hung out with me every day and actually helped paint the mural. So that was really fun to connect with them on that.
Yeah, how cool is that you get the whole family involved? At least your mom,
like my aunt, my uncle, like everybody was out there. It was fun.
That's super cool. Is that the one that has the fox on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love that. That's one of my favorites that I've seen.
Yeah, that one was super
really cool.
Fun. It was actually funny that so when I create a mural, I guess in that scenario where they don't give you any sort of restrictions on what to do, I always do something just kind of like how it comes to me. And that imagery had come to me, and come to learn when I was doing that mural that there's actually a fox that runs around that building.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I had
you had no idea.
No.
That
was really cool.
That's like serendipity.
That is really cool.
I love that I love stories like that. So let's talk about that one, because I'm looking at it right now on my screen. So it's a fox that's laying down, and he's got a crown, or she has a crown on, and then there's a bird behind it.
Yeah, so that bird is a Kentucky warbler. So I always like to tie in the animals with the community so that they, the people viewing it can have some sort of connection beyond myself. So that's why I chose the Kentucky warbler. And I actually chose the fox kind of as like a nod to the fox hunting club, the Iroquois Hunt Club, which is close to Lexington, right outside of Winchester, Kentucky. And that's where my parents live. Yeah. And then of course, just that fox just running around that building is also just weird.
That is. I love it. So what's the significance of the crown?
Also just a nod to the fox hunting community. Okay. And I just always feel like the foxes always outsmart the horses. So I always feel like they're king of the wilderness out there.
They're pretty sly.
Yeah.
So did the idea kind of come to you all at once, or was it something that kind of developed over time while you were thinking of it?
Yeah. So I actually did like 3 or 4 different mock-ups that I wanted to do on that building. And the fox was one that kind of stuck with me the most, just because there was the most connection to that community with that particular mock-up. I really liked I was playing with the graphic background and then the hyperrealism foreground at that time, and really enjoyed it. So I kind of wanted to stick with that image.
And for
that background.
Yeah, for our listeners,
awesome.
Yeah, it's black and white with white, looks like leaves and vine kind of element. I don't know if
it's
that's
actually hunter green.
Hunter green.
Say, it looks a little green to me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, my screen must be off.
It's fine.
Calibrate your screen.
It's a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. I love the fox is phenomenal. It's awesome looking. No, I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's stunning.
I love the story of the fox running around the building. That is
so weird.
That is, just love it. So I want to, when you did the commission for the stairwell, right? Mm-hmm. So, you started out like, I'm just going to pull $15 out of my hat and charge for my portrait work. So how did you figure out what you were going to charge for the commission?
Yeah. So that was actually my first commission in Colorado, was that stairwell. for anything larger than like, just like canvas. So I did a lot of asking around on what people in the industry charged based on their experience level, their medium, the size of the space, and really kind of leaned on Tracy to kind of like help guide me in that. So yeah, he kind of like spitballed me a number, and I think I charged maybe $12 a square foot for that, 11 or $12. But I mean, just in that short amount of time, I have, really upped that price, just because of the demand and also just the level of detail and time that I spend on something. So,
well,
again,
and your skill
ever
level
evolving. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So is there kind of a formula for people that are starting to do murals? Is there kind of a formula other than, I know you kind of mentioned the $12 for a square foot. And the reason I ask that is because a lot of sculptors will do 3 times the forging fee. So if it's $1,000 to forge a piece, they'll sell it for 3,000 or 4,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I guess I always put into effect materials. So spray paint is not cheap. It's like $6 to $9 a can, which is expensive, especially when a can only gets you like a 4 foot by 4 foot square. So I definitely factor that. And then, my time too. So I always try and estimate. I like never hit it on the head, but, try and estimate how much time I'm going to spend on that particular project. If I am having to travel a long distance, so I live in Golden, so I always try and factor in where am I traveling to, what's my gas going to look like over that period of time. And then also just like, my environment. Am I going to have to be like outside at night, or am I going to have to do early mornings? Or is it a west facing wall during the summer where I'm going to be cooking all day? So, and then there's always also, if it's an outdoor wall of significant size, am I going to have to buy a lift and rent a lift? So there's definitely all these factors that kind of like go into what I charge per square foot.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah. And more than you even really think about.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Do you like doing the tall ones where you have to have a lift?
Yeah. So for Babe Walls, the one that Sandra and Becca and I did was the tallest wall I had ever done. And granted, Sandra was like the one at the tippy top, like doing down. I just did, maybe 3/4 the way up and helped Becca. But being on that boom lift is scary. Like, I don't love heights. And so definitely was having like a little bit of panic at 43 feet in the air on that boom lift. But by the 3rd day, it was like natural to me to just like get up that high. So
you just start to get used to it. After a while.
Just get used to it.
Yeah.
You get lost in the work, and then you're not thinking about how high you are, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just plug my tunes in and just really focus on what I'm doing.
So since you mentioned it, can we talk about Babe Walls, or is this too early to talk about that, Todd? Can we talk about it?
Well, I wasn't going to transition so early in the podcast, but since you brought it up, Wes, let's talk about Babe Walls.
All right, let's talk about it. Tell us about Babe Walls.
How did that come about?
Yeah. So I guess working at Rhino Made, when I was working with a lot of those local artists, I worked with a lot of women and kind of had heard that they were having issues getting into mural festivals, and they didn't feel like they were given a fair opportunity, whether that was based on their experience level or, whether they were female. They just didn't feel like they were given the time of the day. And I feel like some of them felt that that was because they were women. So this really was just like me sitting at the Rhino Made desk one day, just like waiting for the time to pass, because some days were very slow. But I just decided that, it'd be really cool if we could just do like an all women's mural festival. Like if we just got a bunch of gals together and just started painting. And so there were a few women that I really wanted to be involved with that project. And I had mentioned to them like a year before, like, hey, if I like did this, would you be interested in maybe like jumping on board and like helping me organize it? And all of them were like stoked on it. But, of course, here I am, like some new artist to the community talking about this like huge thing. Like, who am I to like pull something like that off? But I was introduced to Christina Eisenstein on a different project and had just slightly mentioned to her that I just wanted to do this all women's mural festival. And the original plan was to take it out of state and not do it in Colorado. And she was like, oh, well, just like, we have a bunch of property in Westminster. Why don't we just like do it there? And, you know, I was kind of like brushed it off and didn't really believe her that she was serious. And then like the next day she like texted me all of the like codes to the houses. And she was like, okay, great. So like, we'll see you tomorrow, right? We're going to show you everything. And I was like, oh, okay. So like went up, saw the buildings. And then she had mentioned that Peter Lafari, who owns the other half of the buildings on the block, was also interested. So I met with him and he was stoked on the idea and we got his support. So needless to say, it just was snowballed like very, very quickly. And so I pulled my team together and we all clicked and came together with artists, and we're all super organized women and just pulled it together somehow, and made it into what it is. But I think that in the beginning, we just like didn't realize the significance of the event and how much women in the community really need this. So it's a movement is what we call it. It's like the start of this movement of women having a place in the street art scene.
How many
That's
women
awesome.
worked on the initial one? Do you know?
So my original like core team, there's 6 of us. So it's myself and 5 other women. And then we had 27 artists in Babe Walls 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
And it was all collaboration?
Yep. So everything was a collaboration. That was one thing that I really wanted to make sure stuck, because it's all about us coming together, right? So it's not about us being on our own creating something. Like this is us being able to come together and show that as women, we can flex our skills and pull together super badass murals. And every single one of those women brought it to the table. All those pieces are just bangers.
Yeah, it's stunning work. I haven't seen it in person yet. I want to drive up there this weekend and check it out. And I didn't get to go to the actual event. I'm curious to see where you go with this. And
Me too.
yeah, right. So how long did it take from having that thought about doing this to the fruition to when you actually had the event?
So I think I had like the initial thought maybe like spring of 2019. Yeah. And then had that conversation with Christina in October. And then in November is when we pulled the team together and just organized it. So I guess a full year from like thought to fruition.
It's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
And I think that shows you the organization of women. Women seem like they're very organized.
Yeah.
I think if it was a bunch of dudes, it would be like double that, right? Maybe 3 times that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I think that's really impressive. And you did something special to make Babe Walls happen. You actually started you had a Kickstarter campaign to ensure that all the materials were covered and you were able to pay everybody. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I did a lot of research on lifts and paint supplies and stipends running in mural festivals and how much artists were getting paid at that time. So I really used a lot of that to kind of build out a budget prior to, so that when we kickstarted, we knew that everything was going to be covered. So we did incentives for like our high sponsors. We wanted to make sure that like we really gave our appreciation to them. So like we did little boxes for all the sponsors over a certain amount. And then everybody that put any money in got a sticker and a handwritten letter. So we just pulled it together for sure during COVID, no less. So,
yeah.
We did not think we were going to hit it, but the community like blew all of our socks. I think we all cried. Like the whole 6 of us cried that day that we got like that last bit of money, like within, I think it was like 6 hours of the end time. And then we actually ended up raising over our goal. which was even more amazing.
So the
Can you talk
Kickstarter.
about,
Oh, go
and
ahead.
I don't know if you want, can you talk about how much money you were hoping to make and how much money you did?
Yeah, so I banked it like right at around 50 grand. And that would supply lifts, paint, and stipends for the women. And then just some extra money for merch or anything else we wanted to do. And then, of course, Kickstarter takes a certain number of fees. So we had to factor that in. And then doing the sponsor boxes, we needed to factor in like mailing costs to be able to mail our boxes out to the sponsors. So that was kind of like where we pulled the number that we got from, which is like 53.2, I think was like the final number for Kickstarter. And then thankfully we had so many people wanting to support that we ended up raising closer to 60 grand.
Nice. As far as sponsors, so the lion's share of the funds come from like a small section of sponsors, or was the lion's share of the money raised from a lot of smaller donors?
So the two biggest donors were Christina and Mike Eisenstein and Peter Lafari, who were the building owners of the buildings that we did. So they put in over half of what we needed to raise. And then everything else came from local sponsors and private donations from people literally all over the world. Like people from Australia and China and England, like we're all donating. So I think that it all surprised us at like the reach that this festival gained. And where it went to, because we had support from all over. And even just after the first year, we have people from all over the world reaching out, wanting us to like collab with them. So
That is so spectacular.
yeah,
It is.
Got to
fun.
feel
It's fun
great
to
about
watch.
what you've accomplished in this last year.
Yeah,
Sure.
I do. But I like could not have done it alone. Like every single one of those women helped and could not have done it without them.
It sounded like you had a really great group of women that all just worked together as a team
Yep.
to make this happen
Mm-hmm.
without ego.
Yeah, zero ego. And that was probably like the best part about that festival is it was a very like nurturing environment where if somebody had a problem, instead of feeling like they were, insecure or they felt like they couldn't ask anybody, they had, 26 other artists that they could ask and everybody would come running to them if they needed something. A lot of these artists, it was like their first time on a wall of that size. And so for them to be able to bring it in the way that they did, and we had a lot of fun. But we all had fun together and we were laughing and dancing and, we all had little like sage blasts in the morning. And also the volunteers were amazing. They really just stepped up. Also couldn't have done it without them. But there was no ego at all. Only support and love. So it was really great to feel that. And even a lot of people commented that, they had never felt that in a mural festival scenario ever. So.
I mean, because it could have been completely the opposite where people were very territorial and catty and, that. So the fact that you all came together and shows when you have a collective idea, what you can do when you team together. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And just the fact that so this first year was all artists by invitation. So we all knew the artists that were coming in. I didn't know a lot of them personally, but somebody in that core collective of women, so that within the six of us, we all knew who was coming in. So I think that knowing those women on a personal level is what really helped as well. Just securing that was going to go off without a hitch and that everybody just was going to get along. So.
How did you pair artists up? How did you go about that?
So myself and 5 others, the core group, I basically said, come to me with 1 to 2 artists that you would like to collaborate with, and then a list of women that you want to be a part of the festival. So we all came in with our pile and then chose from the women that we knew wanted to be a part of the festival, but just didn't know how to pair them. And then we kind of left that to them. So we were like, hey, we want you guys to be a part of this for this first year, pair how you would like. And, some some people work better alone, and that's totally fine. So we were all doing it together as a collective anyways, even though we may not have been together on one wall. So.
And I heard rumors that Caitlin Oren only wanted to work with another Caitlin. Like, if there's not another Caitlin, I'm not even painting. Is that true, or is that?
No, Caitlin and Caitlin are super good friends. They've been friends for a really long time.
That's awesome. I just seen their names side by side. I'm like, what's the chances of two Caitlins working together? No, that's awesome.
They're really good friends. And they're both just like amazing humans.
No, I'm just having fun. That's awesome though, that you have this great collaboration of people working together. So I'm just teasing, just finding humor in the situation. So you had 12 different walls that you were painting according to this map.
We had so there was, I think, 11 walls. There was one building that had 2 installations. The Ladies Fancy Work Society put on the rooftop one of their little knit monsters. So
nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just going by the map. It's awesome. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. The website for Babe Walls, it's babewalls.com, is really a really well done website. It's laid out, it's organized, it's laid out well. You can find stuff. You even had information that if you were coming from out of town or whatever, you had hotels listed on there and directions on how to get there. I mean, I was impressed.
Yeah. Thanks, Squarespace. Not a sponsor plug, but
maybe next year they'll throw some money.
Yeah.
You said Squarespace. Here's 10 grand. The other thing is, so is there going to be Babe Walls Cincinnati and Babe Walls Kentucky, or not Kentucky, but Lexington, or any other city for that matter?
We have had people from all over the world reach out. So I think I've had like 6 inquiries from different cities. Had one today come through from Australia, which is pretty cool. And
are you volunteering to fly there and orchestrate it? I would be.
Yeah, for sure.
That's incredible. That's,
it's amazing that like we haven't even been active for an entire year, and like we've made a footprint all over the world. So yeah, stoked on it.
Anytime that you do something positive, like what you just accomplished, people just want to be a part of it, especially right now in this weird period that we're in with, all the divisiveness and all the craziness that's going on, the pandemic. It's, I think people want that in their lives. So I think that's awesome that you're providing that. You and your team are providing that. Let me ask you this about the whole stipend thing. So does everybody get an equal cut, or did everybody get paid the same? That's cool.
Yep. Everybody got paid the exact same.
That's awesome. And then I want to ask you this. I know you're going to do Crush here in a couple of weeks or whatever. Is it a whole different vibe when you throw the dudes in there?
Yes. 100%. And like I said, it was evident like when we were doing Babe Walls, just what a different environment it is. I mean, granted, we were on a much smaller scale also. Yeah, it's different for sure. It's very different.
Is it more competitive? Is it because women are kind of new to the whole street art thing as far as the amount of women that are being involved now? Is that correct in that assessment? So it's been kind of male dominated. Is it much more like a competitive type of atmosphere when you get the guys involved?
Yeah, for sure. And I will say that, so last year I had the opportunity to meet Smug One, who I have always looked up to his art, and he as a dude and also as like originating in the graffiti scene was super nice. And I really like picked his brain on his process, and he was like more than willing to share. And so I really appreciated that. And so I think that there are definitely those artists out there, whether they're men or women. But I think that the caliber of artists you have coming together, because it is 100, 150 artists, male and female, there's always going to be people that don't get along and that are territorial. And so you just kind of have to choose who you want to interact with. So.
Have you experienced that firsthand?
I have. Yeah.
Kind of just like bad vibe. Like he doesn't think that I'm as good of an artist as I know I am.
And just like the the territory thing. I think that is probably the thing that I've experienced the most, of just like, this is my territory, and, this person can't come onto this wall because it's my territory. And there's definitely that's evident in the scene. But I think that this year I've noticed more so that less and less of that is becoming evident, and that there's more people coming together and more people supporting one another. Jairo Vega, who is not from here, but he's here a lot. He came in and created the Spray the Name campaign with Detour. That is just a really great campaign where they're kind of memorializing people that lost their lives in police brutality or violence throughout the riots and just everything we've been going through this year. So he also is just another just like truly great soul that just doesn't have any of that. So it's like good when people come in with that energy to kind of like help eradicate the bad egos. I think that they're still out there, but I hope that people are becoming more one and less territorial. So
you're seeing that change, and
yeah,
and that's kind of probably the old school thought, right? That like more that territorial thing. And I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to be a street art historian by any means, but I would imagine that the evolution of it, and especially now that women are more involved, I would think that women are the ones that change everything. Guys, if you're listening, women are really in charge of this world. And as soon as you figure that one out, the easier life will be. Right?
You
happy
said
wife,
it.
happy life.
But seriously, I mean, women are nurturers, and there's just a whole different vibe when you get a collective of women together. I imagine that when you're talking street art, there's a lot of like that macho-ness attitude that has been around for a long time, and it takes a while for that to change.
Yeah, well, and especially because like the scene was really started with graffiti crews, which were based off of territory. So yeah, and that's still very much around. So that's something that Crush does make space for our graffiti crews. And I think that that's super important to have that for them, so that they can feel like they were the beginning of this whole movement. So to be able to give credit to them and just recognize that like this is where it started, was like in these graffiti crews, and it's definitely evolved to something different now, but that doesn't mean that they're what they do shouldn't exist anymore.
All right, so they're still tipping their hat to these guys. At the same time, there's a revolution.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a question, and we kind of skimmed it a little bit earlier, but when you're breaking in, are people willing to share their secrets of how they do their type of look? So I'm looking at Smug One's stuff. My God.
Mind blowing. I know.
It is. It's just
that dude does not grid. He does not project. Like he just gets on a wall and starts creating. Like, I don't understand it.
And to be able to see the big picture when you're 5 feet away, and I'm, not that you can't walk back and look at it from afar, but you're working like right there, and these murals are huge, and the detail in, like the wrinkles of these people's faces, or this, the skeleton or whatever, it's just phenomenal. So is he approachable to say, hey, how did you do this technique? Are people willing to share?
I think it kind of depends on like how you approach that person. I'm sure if you just like came up to them on the street, are they having a good day? Like, are they willing to kind of share their secrets at that time? But I think that just based on the nature of like why he was in town was for Crush. And I just like geeked on him the whole time and told him how cool he was. So, but yeah, so I think it's a case by case basis, and you kind of have to try and like read a person before you ask something that personal. And I guess that's what I try and do.
Yeah. No, his stuff is amazing. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's wicked.
Where's he from originally, or do you know? I don't know anything about him.
I know that he lives in Scotland now. I think he's originally from Australia. That's
Okay.
where he is.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where do you go from here with Babe Walls? I know you have some opportunities, but
Yeah, I mean, like the whole premise and goal of Babe Walls originally was to go to other cities and highlight their artists with some of our collective, and kind of just like forever building this team, I guess. So to have had 8 or 9 different cities around the world reach out and want to collaborate, we're like giving ourselves a little bit of a break right now. And so we'll come back to it in probably November or December to start planning 2021. But really just evaluate those cities, like how much they really want us to come. Like there's going to be a sense of fundraising that they need to like understand. And that's something that they will ultimately kind of need to take on. And like, we'll do site visits and, work with the community and do all of that. But I guess just seeing who wants it most for the next year and thereon after that. And then if we don't have anybody reaching out to places that we would like to go, then I imagine that we'll probably reach out to them and make connections in their community and see if that's something that we can collab on.
so your collective will basically consult with them on how to make this happen, and you'll leave the fundraising part up to them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we'll help them kind of pull it together as much as we can, and try and work with the building owners, because that's where, a lot of the funds that come in are from. So, these building owners are paying for the beautification of their building, right? So ultimately in the future, their building is going to, increase because there's a piece of art on it. So if building owners can understand that and respect that, then that's where most of that money should come from. It's from the building owners. And then we worked with the city of Westminster, and they were super supportive. So having the city be able to support in some financial aspect is really great as well. So there's definitely a little bit of a formula to work from. And then it's really just making connections in that city. And so that's why there's 6 of us instead of just me.
Right.
So
Makes sense. Would you do another Kickstarter campaign, do you think? Or do you see yourself going after like corporate sponsorship?
I think with the level of corporate sponsors that reached out to us this year, unfortunately, COVID has just put a wrench in everything. And so a lot of our corporate sponsors that we had to back down just because, we couldn't have gatherings or parties. We ended up canceling all of our programming for the festival this year due to COVID. So like PBR was a big sponsor for us in the beginning, and because we couldn't have our opening or closing party or DJs or anything that we had kind of set up in the beginning, that sponsorship just fell off. But I think that just kind of depending on how things go, really will kind of depend on how we reach out to corporate sponsors. But there's also just a lot of really great local shops and people that want to support, and that was evident in kickstarting for Babe Walls. And so I think that there are more people within a community that want to support this cause, whether it's small businesses or just private people. So I think that there's more support in that sometimes.
So talk about the process of doing a mural. What is your process? Because you talked about Smug One. That's his name,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
And how he can just walk up to a wall and start painting it, and he can see the big picture. What is your process, or what is the typical process for people that are going to do a mural?
I guess it's different around all fronts. Like people have different mantras that they do at the beginning, middle, and end. They have different processes on how they create their designs. But mine, kind of like what I said earlier, I like to always connect my work to the building owner or the person commissioning me. So that's kind of where I start first if they don't have an idea on subject matter first. And then kind of like working off of that, it creates into an image, which I have a mock-up on my iPad. So I use Sketchbook Pro to pull my mock-ups through and do this rendering for them so they can kind of see what it'll look like. So because my style is more on the hyper realism side, I do a lot of like collaging, and then really doesn't come together until it's actually done on the wall. So my first Crush Walls mural, I had done gridding, where I measured out the boxes and snapped the lines and did a lot more measuring where I'd always mess it up. Was really frustrated by that process, but I didn't know how to do it any other way. And then Detour, who is a friend, I saw that he was doing what they call a squiggle grid, which is basically where you come in and you can put symbols, numbers, letters, whatever you want on the wall. You take a picture of the wall, pull it into your program that you're using with your design on your iPad, and then you can actually overlay your design on top of that to see where each line hits each squiggle, letter, number. So it is a gridding process, but it made it easy for me because I didn't need another person to help snap lines with me or, measure something. It's something that I can do on my own really easily. So that's what I do to scale up. And then usually block in my large fields of color. And then I usually work from black out. So my shadows to my highlights.
So do you enjoy collaborating, or do you like working by yourself more? It just depends.
Recently, I think this year has been the year of collaborations for me. I don't know that I think I've done one solo project, but it's been super fun. I really like collaborations because you get to learn tips and tricks from that other person on what their process is. And they might be doing something a lot easier than what you're doing, and they can help you out on that. And then also you just get to know that person a little bit better and their artwork, and to be able to mesh something like that together. It's like two creative minds just like melting their thoughts together. And I think that that's a super cool thing you don't always get. And then sometimes you may never see another piece like that again, just because that was a one-off piece. And that's like super special also.
And I would imagine as you're painting a big wall like that, it's kind of nice to have another person there with you, just to talk with, and you get to socialize a little bit, where if you're just by yourself, that lone pursuit of painting this huge expanse of wall can be, especially probably towards the end, I imagine you're like,
yeah, for
all right,
sure.
I'm ready to be done with this.
Yeah. Or even too, you can just be like, does that look off to you? Does it look a little off? And they're like, yeah, that looks kind of whack. And so they like help kind of like wrangle it back in, and
Having
then
that
also,
second pair of eyes.
Yeah, totally. And then also at the end, sometimes it's really hard to like, just pull that last corner together, and you just need that like extra motivation to just like muscle through and just get it done. So definitely a lot of benefits from collaborating, for sure. But it can also be a challenge. So some people do work better alone, and I haven't worked with anybody like that yet, but everybody I've worked with so far has been really great, and they're all friends as well. So
how long does it take, and I know it depends on the size of the wall and probably but like, how long does it from start to finish a mural take?
So that wall that Becca and Sandra and I did for Babe Walls was 42 feet high, and I think maybe like 22 feet long. And we finished that in 4 days.
Wow.
Which is like pretty incredible. But, there was also 3 of us on that wall. So I feel like that helped. The piece I did at the Swiss Floral Shop in Wheat Ridge, that took me 2 weeks to do. I was dealing with scaffolding and ladders, so I was having to go up and down a lot. There were stairs involved also because there was different levels. So I think I spent a lot of my time climbing on that one, but it's one of my favorite thus far. I'm really proud of that piece.
Which one is that, by the way? What's it
Is that
look
the
like?
one, the Pronghorn?
No, that's the one. That one is off of Colfax. That one's off of Calmia. The Swiss Floral Shop is, I don't know if I put it on my website. I know it's on my Instagram, but it's off of 44th and Kipling. It's really close to that intersection. But I've been kind of playing around with floral wallpapers as a background. That was kind of the first, I guess that was the second piece that I had done that with, and it was super fun. Challenging for sure, but very fun to do that like graphic background with the hyperrealism in the front.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Thank you.
Your birds are so amazing.
And it's so funny. I like didn't think that I would be doing birds, but I feel like that's what I'm mainly doing are birds. That's like what everybody wants.
Well, and all your animals, they're so expressive. Like there's, they're alive. They have like emotion to them.
Mm-hmm. I think, so wanting to be a veterinarian and not deciding to take that path, something that I was always drawn to was animal communication and how they communicate through their body language, and they're super expressive in their eyes. I work and train horses, so that whole process is, you're not using, they don't know what you're saying, but the way you move with your body and how you speak to them through your body language is how you kind of connect. And so that's how I feel like I connect with animals, is through body language. And so I want to be able to express that in my artwork, and people can kind of connect with that. So that's something I always try and do.
So next up you have Crush. Mm-hmm. And is that a collaboration this year?
Yep. So I'm collaborating with Olive Moya. So she was in Babe Walls also. She collaborated with Lindy Zimmer during Babe Walls. But I've never collaborated with Olive before. We've been painting murals in the same building before. But I'm super excited to do this piece with her. It's going to be really fun.
And you've already sussed out what exactly you're going to do with that wall?
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've got our design ready. I think we locked it in maybe like a month and a half ago. So we are fully prepared. So yeah.
How long of a discussion is that when you're working with another person?
It can be back and forth. Like I know the collaboration that I did with Becca and Sandra, because there was three of us and because we were trying to mesh three very different styles, there was a lot of back and forth, but it ended up like coming to something that, couldn't have come out any better. I love that collaboration. But when I collaborated with AJ, he and I, it was very fast. I basically just like gave him my design and he added something to it, and that was that. So that one was pretty easy. And then this one with Olive was pretty easy as well. I am not that person to kind of like take lead on a piece of art if I'm collaborating. I kind of want to see like where the other artist wants to go and like what they want to make sure and express in their artwork. And then I like to play off of that with my artwork. So that's kind of what Olive and I did together. So she like has this new series that she's been working on, and I wanted to make sure that she was able to bring that into her piece. And then I am starting to kind of like shift my work into animal conservation. So I wanted to make sure and highlight a threatened or endangered species here in Colorado. So that's what we're doing on our piece.
That sounds cool. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm stoked on it.
When is Crush again?
So Crush is September 14th through the 20th.
So public is can come and watch you guys do, obviously walk around and check out what you guys are doing during Crush.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So we're working with two parts to kind of help put together safety precautions, since this year is a little bit different. So all of our artists will be kind of like caution taped off from the crowd, so nobody can really like come up to them. You're still required to wear a mask, which is a state ordinance, I believe. And then a lot of the alleyways that normally get pretty congested during Crush will be made into one-ways. So there's one entrance, one exit to kind of like keep the flow of traffic and prevent any like back and forth. We had to kill all of our programming also for Crush and kind of reroute it. We're doing some cool things with it. Like we're going to do a drive-in, which I think is going to be super fun. And we're going to show a local documentary about a local artist. And so that'll be super fun. And then we're doing artist panels as well. We have 3 happening during that week. So we're still doing some programming. It'll all be COVID safe, I guess. So
nice. Let's talk about your art.
Yeah.
As far as your fine arts paintings that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do a fair amount of commission still?
I don't. A lot of my commission work is through murals, but also it's mural season. So I feel like in the winter time, I usually have more commissions in my fine art. And then usually in the spring, summer, fall months are more mural commissions. I say that like I've been doing this for like my whole life, but this is only like my second year doing this. So I don't have a lot to compare to, but so far that's how it's been. But I do like doing fine art commissions, and I just did that whole show. I worked a little over a year on, and it might have been like just following COVID, but to be able to get all of that work up in one spot and be able to showcase it was a huge goal of mine. So yeah, I just hope to be able to continue to put series like that together.
So was that the Women of the West series?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's really nicely done.
Thank you.
I was really enjoying looking at those. My favorite is the 3 Amigas.
Oh,
I love that.
Still available if you want to buy it.
And it's not $12.
Very good. Very good.
$12.
You know what? As I was looking at that earlier, I thought, oh, that one's still available. And I bet if I point that out, if she's really on top of it, she'll go, yep, it's still for sale.
It is still for sale.
But it is. It's a really beautiful piece. And
yeah.
I'd love to see that in person. So that was a show that happened earlier this year.
Yep. So that was in June at Ironton Distillery. So that series was, I was super connected to because I took all of my own reference photos. So all of the people and horses in those paintings are friends of mine and horses that I've ridden. So I also took my own reference photography for that. So all of the photographs I worked from, I took those photos. So that was a way for me to like really connect with my artwork. I like kind of started to lose that connection a few years back whenever I was doing some commissions, and I was just kind of like pulling images of animals off of Google and kind of like mashing them together. So as much as I can, I really like to take my own reference photos to kind of like get that personality of the animal. And then, if I know that that horse has like, a gray hair in one corner of its eye, like I know that that's there and I can capture that. So it's been like a fun thing that I've kind of evolved my art into.
You said that you were thinking about doing another series. Do you have another series that you're working on right now?
I have thoughts of a series that I want to work on next. I want to work on a small series that's everything is like 12 by 12 and under. I haven't really started on that yet, but I'm working on a collaboration with my boyfriend right now. And then I'm also working on a piece for a friend. And so with all of the other things I have going on, I'm just trying really hard to finish these 2 pieces right now. So usually during like the winter is when I sit down and get a lot of painting done inside.
And then do you still do the pet commissions for people when they ask, or you're like, I'm done with that?
Yeah, I was definitely very burnt out on that. I will never do another portrait of a cat ever again. I'm going to say that for the record. But
you know what's going to happen?
Just throwing that out there right now.
I'm going to get like 1,000 cat requests.
Yeah, there's going to be a cat in your future that somebody's going to throw you enough money to say, yeah, maybe I'll paint a cat.
Yeah, if they're like friends or family, I'll consider it.
Money?
But yeah, I would I just would
How
rather
about
be
money?
doing other things.
Would money make you consider it?
Yeah, always.
Okay. Somebody's going to send you a
can't
cat
say no to
picture and
that.
say, "Can you paint this?" And I'm going to pay you $15,000.
I'll
I'm
be
putting
like,
that out there for you.
done.
Right.
Done. Yeah.
And I would encourage you to listen to Michael Unteed's interview with us.
Okay.
He talks about when you need some extra cash, he does what he calls little Charlies, and
Okay.
he auctions them off, and he starts them at $100, and they don't go for $100; they go for more than $100, and they're little 5x7s.
Okay.
So when you're bored, just blow out some 5x7s and have a little Charlie exhibit, as Michael Unteen would call it.
I mean, I guess that's kind of like the whole thought process behind my
The
like
12
small
by 12s?
series show. Yeah. Just to do like
that's what made me
smaller,
think
more
of it.
attainable. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I will definitely listen to that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how do you go about getting these commissions to do these murals? Is it mostly is it because you post stuff on social media and people find you, or is it word of mouth? How does that work?
Like this year, it's been a lot of social media. So they either find my website or find my Instagram and then reach out to me through either of those. I guess, so I'm doing a mural next week that I am not getting paid for, but I just wanted to do this woman's dog. So Taya, who owns Erico Motorsports in Rhino, has this little black and white cattle dog thing, and her name is Viva. And so I asked her if I could paint a portrait of her dog portrait, on her garage. So I'm going to be doing that next week. And this is just kind of like a fun little thing. I've been wanting to do a dog portrait at a large scale. And so, yeah, I'm excited to do that piece next week.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
and she's also a shop dog. Yeah. So she's there all the time. So everybody knows her also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a couple actors that I think it's George Clooney. We've mentioned this before, I think, where George Clooney does one for the studio and then one for him. And movies, that is. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool that you're doing something that you want to do.
Yeah,
and,
I think it's important to do that too.
Yeah.
You don't always get a lot of freedom in commissions. And so sometimes you have to just do it yourself.
Yeah.
So what social media do you use?
Oh, Todd, you're on it.
Instagram.
Todd's on it, because that was my next question. Social media, which one? Because you're talking about it, like there's Facebook and Instagram and TikTok, and I see you on TikTok, I'm sure. But go ahead. Which ones does that you utilize the best? Sorry, Todd.
Instagram is really the only one that I use.
Okay.
Facebook is just connected to my Instagram, so it just posts there. But I get a lot of my inquiries and traffic from my Instagram. I don't use TikTok. I think it's for like 17-year-olds. Like I'm like out of that realm. And plus it looks like it's just way too much time. I don't have that much time to like build these things.
It's a time suck just watching it. And then I'm looking at these things and I'm like, oh my God, like who has this kind of time on their hands to just make up this kind of stuff?
Which I wonder do you think the name like TikTok, is that like the sound of the clock passing time because it takes you so much time to put that stuff together?
Right. It's like the seconds ticking off your life.
Right. Yeah. I think
right. Yep. There's that. And also the name is what made it so damn popular, I think, because there was something very similar to that. The name escapes me, but there was another short video program that never really took off, but TikTok just exploded.
Yeah.
And I've done some deep research because I think we owe it to our listeners that we kind of get familiar with different social media, that I've been doing deep research in TikTok, not producing any, but watching mass loads. And it's amazing. Like, oh my God, it's midnight and I'm still looking at TikTok.
Oh my gosh. I haven't done that yet.
So I haven't delved into what artists are doing on there, but I can see where, like, if you wanted to show a progression of paint like a mural, that would be a great way to promote it and get a gazillion views, but you'd have to throw some cool music in it.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that are artists that are utilizing TikTok, and they do that where it's progression on pieces or like they're
tell them to email us
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm serious. Tell them to email. You can go to, you can go get our email address and email it, because I'd like to see theirs, because I don't know who they are. And I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it's like my friend Nicole Perez. She's in Columbus, Ohio.
I'll see if I can find her. But have her email us, or shoot or find us on Facebook.
I will, absolutely.
Tenant Podcast on Facebook, and just send us a message. No, but I'm serious. I want to see it. I've been following a lot of people that do, the same stuff. And then you get in this loop of the same song, and you want to see how other people are doing it. And now I'm to the point now that, like, I judge them. I'm like, oh girl, you don't know what you're doing. You just like, that's lazy. Come on.
So you're at that point now.
Yeah. So I'm like deep into, like, I'm judging now. So anyway, I signed the petition not to ban TikTok. So LinkedIn, do you do a professional LinkedIn thing?
I have one, but I don't mess with that. No,
well, I think
it's just Instagram.
Yeah, I think you're right onto the right one. And we've talked about this a lot, that Instagram is like made for visual artists. And if you don't have an Instagram, you're missing out.
Totally.
And John Lopez got invited to an international show in where was it? Qatar. All his stuff was shipped there. He's a sculptor, and shipped.
He lives in this little town on the South Dakota North Dakota border.
Lemon,
South Dakota.
Population couple hundred.
Yeah,
and he got invited, everything paid for.
Oh my gosh.
To Qatar, and his stuff is phenomenal.
His stuff starts like at $50,000, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And they flew 5 of his sculptures, and he does like life-size buffalo and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And flew it to Qatar. And then when he got there, he didn't even realize it, but they featured him like he was the first artist that people saw when they walked into this exhibit. And then at the end, whatever didn't sell, they bought.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he wasn't even going to do it because he got this weird email, right?
Sure.
And he's like, yeah, exactly. He's like, I don't know what this is about. So he just cashed it, right? And then he was talking to another friend of his that is a sculptor in Nebraska. And she was like, hey, I'm going to go to the Middle East in October. And he's like, really? And she's like, yeah, I got invited to this big show and they're paying for everything. And he's like, really? He's like, I got an email like a couple months ago about doing a show in the Middle East. She's like, you should go home and check your email and do it.
Yeah.
So from his Instagram account.
From his Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. That's rad.
Yeah. John Lopez, we did an interview with him too. So.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just
plugging a lot. Sorry, guys. Sorry to my listeners. I'm plugging. But if you haven't listened to John Lopez, it's good too. We froze our little keister off from February in Lemon, South Dakota. It was awesome.
Oh man.
So you've been able to utilize Instagram pretty well to get work?
Yeah, I do. And I also find it really helpful to connect with other artists on Instagram. I feel like it gives you like an access to them that normally would make them inaccessible. And I really appreciate all the artists that write back from my geeked out messages. It's like, your art is so cool. So,
is that what a lot of it is? Like, hey, I checked out your art. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Or some artists, I am really curious as to what paint are you using to be able to get that? And so some artists will be like, oh, it's this brand, this medium. So,
yeah. So a lot of sharing of tips and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Again,
cool.
Not everybody's like that, but you get some good.
No, but you got people like Detour, who we interviewed, and how he does his Tuesday tip or whatever, Tip Tuesday. And I think he's one of those guys that's very, he's willing to share his experience and help give people that knowledge, which I think is really smart.
Totally.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
I like him.
He's cool, dude.
Yeah, he is. Does beautiful work.
Oh, I know. I'm super excited for the collaborations that he's doing for Crush. He's bringing in the Blackout crew, which is Max Sansing, Sydney James, Kayla Mahaffey, I think Hyro, Vega, and then Backpack Durden. So it's all these really amazing Black artists that are just going to collaborate on this monster of a wall on Curtis Street. So yeah, we're all super excited to see that.
Yeah. Did you know a lot of these people before you got into this scene?
No.
No, this has all happened the last couple of years with
Yeah.
you being embedded in doing this.
Well, and I think just being such a huge part of the production team and Crush, and just really seeing who all of these artists are. I had to be part of the submission team this year. So we had 728 applications for Crush this year, and we had to go through every single one of them. And there's some really talented people out there. I wanted to invite almost all of them, but we just did not have the budget nor the space for that. But so much talent out there. And of course, you're going through their application, like, how have I not heard of you? And so then you follow them on Instagram, and then you follow their work. And it's just like Instagram is just this crazy web of things that is sometimes a motivation for my artwork and an inspiration to my work. And so it's helpful for sure.
How much time do you spend on Instagram a day?
I do social media for the Rhino Art District, so sometimes too much, but probably 2 hours a day, which I feel like is a lot. It's just also become one of those things that's like habit, where if I'm just bored, I just start scrolling through. So, And then also part of COVID, that was the only way to really connect with other people. So, yeah.
So it sounds like you're staying pretty busy, not only with the festivals, obviously, but with your own work. Has COVID really slowed you down at all, or is it kind of just the same? It's been just kind of a growth thing.
I feel like I was busier in my art. I got more art commissions during COVID than I had prior to. And then I work for the Rhino Art District also. So I'm the director of curation. So I help a lot of these development companies that come in to build in Rhino, which is booming right now, curate their work for their buildings. So I pull in a lot of local artists and do installations with them. So that also really went up because all of these development companies didn't have the time to sit down and think about the art. But then COVID happened, their construction got paused, and they started thinking of all these ways they can help the local art community, which Denver's so great about. There's so many opportunities for artists in Denver. So to be able to be a part of creating opportunities for artists is something that, I really like about my job.
I feel like Denver has really come into its own over the last
for sure
10, 15 years. And it's exciting to see that. What kind of tips would you give somebody that's interested in getting into doing murals? Maybe they're just painting canvases right now, but they want to work on a larger scale. What kind of tips, what kind of advice would you give?
There's a lot of workshop opportunities out there with people that are already in the scene. So Streetwise Boulder, I don't know if you're familiar with that mural festival, but Leah, who runs that up in Boulder, she is doing a workshop with Grow Love, who is one of the main gals on my team for Babe Walls, and they're doing a spray paint workshop, which we did a spray paint workshop prior to Babe Walls, specifically for the women who were painting in the festival. But we did a unanimous call on Instagram to see who would want to be a part of that. And it was mind blowing how many people wanted to come to a spray paint workshop. So I think that is becoming more aware that there are a need for those workshops and connections, because there's not enough education opportunities other than reaching out to an artist and seeing if they want to apprentice you.
Does that happen a lot?
I've had a few people reach out to me. I just don't think I'm worthy of teaching somebody at this point yet. So I also just am so all over the place. I have so many different jobs that I'm doing right now. I can't be responsible for another human. But I know that there are definitely a lot of artists that thrive off of that. Grow Love specifically, she is an educator, and she really enjoys teaching other artists how to do murals. So I think that she's going to do more of those workshops. And I think that there are definitely classes out there. Like I know that I've taken a few drawing classes in the Santa Fe Arts District, and there's just a lot of galleries, and there's just a lot of opportunities for artists here in Denver because the art scene is so huge. So yeah, I'd recommend just looking into the art districts and their websites and their opportunities they have listed.
Well, your murals are absolutely beautiful. So you definitely would add somebody, you could definitely help somebody out. I mean, you have the skills. So
I'm just not a good teacher though. Like I think working with horses where I don't use my words, just like body check them. I don't know if like another human would like me to body check them. So
we won't talk.
I think I need to work on that.
But I will check you up against the wall.
Oh man. I see on your website that you have a solo show coming up in November. Is that still happening?
I don't know.
Or is that kind of up in the air?
It is up in the air. I reached out to them a few months ago and their bar was not open at the time. I think now it might be, but I need to follow back up with them. So don't promote that yet.
Okay. We won't say anything more about that then.
Cool.
So besides this project that you're going to do of this portrait of this dog on the garage door for a friend of yours, do you have other murals that you're looking at to do commissions of here in the future?
Yeah. So one I'm really excited about. It's happening the week right after Crush. Outdoor Retailers is coming into Denver, and they're like building this whole complex of retail spots right off of 17th Street, I think. But they reached out to me through a friend, and they wanted me to do a mural on one of the walls they have on their new builds. And the only requirement that they had was that it would needed to be a wolf. And so instead of going to Google and pulling an image of a wolf off, I reached out to the Colorado Wolf and Wildlife Sanctuary down right outside of Colorado Springs to see if I could use one of their reference photos of their wolves. And so they invited me down. So I'm going down actually on Tuesday to take some photographs of some wolves that they have there as reference photos for that mural. But I was talking to Darlene, who she's involved with that. And she was letting me know that the vote for reintroducing the Colorado gray wolf back into Colorado is going to be on the ballot in November. And so there's just like goosebump situation, right? Where like there's this whole like event going on tied to the species of wolf. And so they're actually going to do a blessing of the wolves, which they had already planned the week after I'm going to complete the mural. So we're going to like do this whole big tie into it and really bring awareness to the Colorado gray wolf and the reintroduction of them into Colorado, which is the first time in like 73 years, I think, that something like that has been on the ballot.
That's incredible.
That is.
So yeah, I'm stoked about that one, to like tie it into something like that. And really just to like have that feeling of like immediate connection to a species, to the land, is something that I want to continue to do. So that's where I would like to kind of take that step into like animal conservation and awareness with my art.
Right on.
Great. Yeah.
So let me ask you some general art questions.
Sure.
What do you do on those days where you're not ultra motivated to go work on this huge wall? I'm sure I've talked to other artists, and there's days where they're just like, people think that if you're creative, you can just go out and do it on cue. And that's not always the case.
No, definitely not. So I have a horse here that's right down the street. And so I've been riding horses ever since I was 8 years old. That's been an outlet of mine. And I like need that in my life. So I usually go and ride him, and we're right at the base of South Table Mountains. So we have, 10 miles of trails that we can go and ride, which is super nice. And then we usually will like trailer once a week up into the mountains and do new trails. And so that's really rejuvenating for me. But also just going to art museums, like that's something that helps kind of like re-spark my creative energy. The American West Museum is super inspiring. Like, if you guys have never been there, you should go. There's art from like ceiling to floor, just stacked, and it's like Frederick Remington's and Georgia O'Keeffe's and just these like old Western painters who have artwork that's just like stacked on walls.
Where's that at?
Cool. It is downtown. I want to say it's off of a street that starts with a T.
No. You know what? I haven't been to that museum. I know about it, but I've never been there. So
Super cool.
It's cool
like
that
in an
you're
old house.
Yeah. Okay. I'll definitely have to check that out. We'll make it a date next time you're in town, Wes.
I'm going to look it up real quick right here. So just.
Yeah. And then the Museum of Nature and Science is also a really good one I like to go to. Just all that taxidermy that I love taxidermy. I just like going in there. I usually get some inspiration also.
It's off of Tremont.
There you go.
1721 Tremont Place in Denver, Colorado.
Yep, there it is.
Go there. I see a picture of it, the inside. You're not joking. It's wall to wall.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's super cool. So they have like the back part of the house, which is like the gallery, and then the front part of the house are rooms that I can't tell if they like those were what the rooms were made up to be back in time. In the past, and they've just like plugged in artwork in places. So it looks like a living space in the front. And then on the back end of that level is like their nice gallery that they have. Just, it's a super interesting environment to like see artwork in. So
it's a cool house too. Cool.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah. Todd, we're going. I think I'm going to try to come down. I know we got a trip planned in September sometime to come to Denver. I have a ton. He's already there. I'm coming to Denver sometime in September, and I'm hoping it's that same weekend as the Crush, because I would crush that.
You should come. I'll give you a high five.
Will you?
Yeah, I will.
All right, I'm in it for the high five.
We have to wear gloves, so
yeah.
I wash my hands. I'll bring some.
Or just hand sanitizer.
Yeah, we'll do that. High five, hand sanitizer, mask. One thing that South Dakota people don't wear is masks. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like,
they probably don't believe in hand sanitizer either.
It's like, this is the home of the Sturgis Rally.
Right.
We got numbers boosting in the air as we speak. It's awesome. Love it.
Good God.
God.
So we had this conversation with our last artist that we interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know how we got there, but it's an interesting question. And Wes and I have discussed it on our own numerous times. But can you separate the art from the artist? And the reason I'm asking you this is that there's been artists that work in all different mediums and do different things, music and comedy, etc.,
mm-hmm.
that have done some pretty nefarious things at times. As an artist yourself, can you separate their art that you like from the artist?
No.
There's
one artist in particular that I'm thinking of that his art is pretty iconic, and he's like pretty big in the street art scene, but he
live or dead? Is he live or dead?
He's alive.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to say his name.
Okay. Well, that's what I was going for, but we won't.
But yeah, he's had like just like a history of being violent and like destroying other people's artwork.
No, well, that's unforgivable.
Yeah. So I'm just like, no, dude.
How about somebody like Gauguin?
I don't know who that is.
Turn of the century, 19th century, 1800s, 1900s, painted in France, then went to Tahiti and married a 14-year-old. But, that wasn't necessarily unheard of in those times.
Yeah.
So my grandmother got married when she was 16. It's not unheard of, right? But now he's being lambasted by the current people that they don't think his art should be shown anymore.
I see. Yeah, I mean,
little hard, isn't it? We're not trying to put you on the spot.
Bring
don't
up,
give me
scenarios, but I don't want to like damn myself. So.
No, and we don't want you to. So this is all.
And I don't want you to
Michael
feel
Jackson
like this
is another perfect example.
This is my. Yeah. So I grew up with Michael Jackson.
Sure.
Some of his songs, I really, it brings me back to that time. Yet, he's known to probably did all this terrible stuff to these kids. I still like listening to Michael Jackson music. I'll still, I won't turn it off when I'm riding in the car and I hear a Michael Jackson song.
Yeah. So I guess in that scenario where the person's art came before their investigation, or, the scenario where it's been brought to the public, they've like done something wrong. Like I've built a relationship with that art, like Michael Jackson's music. I like don't support at all what happened, like what he did. But I will say it's harder for me to remove myself from their art if I had like a personal connection to it prior to knowing that they had like bad behavior.
Right.
But in the opposite scenario, if I meet somebody that is an ass and then see that they do art, it might be really cool, but because I know they're an ass, I'll hate their artwork. So
I think that's normal.
Yeah.
I think that's normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's a complex question. I mean, it's a difficult question, and I don't think there's any one right answer. The artist that we just talked to, he made the case that, if it was good before, it's still good. You know what I mean? Before you found out that they did whatever, if it was good before, then it's still good.
And I mean, I guess that I would kind of like separate the art from the artist in that sense. Because I did. Like I liked their art before, and their art is still good. So what they might have done behind closed doors or like outside of their art is like a different personality in a way. But if they're an asshole, I'll hate their work.
Bottom line, if they're an ass,
you're out. So
you're done, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. That's interesting. I mean, I think everybody has a different perspective. And again, I don't want you to feel like that was trying to get you or anything like that. I just think it's an interesting, as artists, I think it's something that needs to be talked about.
Sure. Yeah.
And should be discussed. And I do think it's, in some cases, it's definitely difficult to separate the person from the art, especially if they've done really terrible things. It really taints it. But I just think it's an interesting question. And I thought we just talked to Daniel Sprick. And so that was his take on it. And then, he's like 67 years old and you're much younger. So I wanted another person's opinion on it. And especially from a female opinion of how you felt. So just to get a different perspective.
Yeah, definitely. If they're a mean person, they do terrible things. I know that before I've seen their work, then I usually hold it against them. But yeah, interesting scenario, especially if they've passed away, right? So
you get inspired from other street artists. Are there other artists that really inspire you outside of the street art scene?
Yeah,
so really like their work?
Three artists off the top of my head. So Georgia O'Keeffe is one that I really pull a lot of inspiration from in my artwork. I had the chance to go to Ghost Ranch a couple of years ago, and that was a really amazing experience to kind of like be able to connect to her story a little bit more. And then artists that are living, Marc Majori, he is a French American West painter who lives in Taos now, but his work very much inspired my Women of the West series. And he paints mostly cowboys, and so he has very few women that he paints in his work. And so I wanted to like bring light to the women ranchers and cowgirls out there that were doing just as hard of work. So that's where the Women of the West kind of came in. And then Logan Maxwell Hagege, which he is also a really great American West painter, but he paints a lot of Native Americans in his work. And he does almost like a graphic style, but it's still very much realism that I find just very inspiring. And then there's Josie Morway, who she's on the West Coast and Pacific Northwest, and she paints these like stunning pieces of birds. It's just like hyper realism stuff. And I was able to be in a show at a Bend gallery last year with one of her pieces. So that was like super surreal for me to have a piece in the same show that she did. So
That's fantastic.
Those are the 4 that I definitely tend to go back to almost on a daily basis and see what they're doing.
How was Ghost Ranch? I bet you that was pretty cool.
It was super cool. I went with my mom. So I turned 30 that year and she turned 60. So it was like our 30-60 trip that we did. Yeah, the landscape out there is just super stunning, and the marbling of those rocks and just the sheer size of them. And then, of course, like, you know, we went on the horseback ride that takes you like by her house where she lived, and just the history of that area, and then all the folklore, super cool. And then, of course, they hold all these workshops and educational experiences as well. So it was just a really cool experience. Not to mention the silence out there is like nothing I've ever been around. It's deafening. It's so quiet out there. So I can definitely see why people go there to do a lot of art. So
that's
a lot
awesome.
of inspiration.
So what's your thoughts of Frida Kahlo?
I like her a lot. I like her portrayed in artwork a lot. I think that she has a lot of like really great features that I feel like are fun to paint. And I admire her strength as a woman.
Yeah. And just like living up to, you know, her peers of the time. And like she was really enamored with Georgia O'Keeffe too. That's why I brought her up. And people just, you know, she's so famous. I mean, people just love her.
Yeah.
You know? And
you always see portraits of her popping up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which Ashley June, Chelsea Lewinsky, and Taylor Herzog, who were part of Fables, they did this piece that Chelsea did a portrait of Georgia O'Keeffe. So I was like super connected to that piece, and super fun to see that go up.
Yeah, that was a cool piece.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought I'd ask, just because of that connection between her and Georgia and Frida.
Yeah.
So looking into 2021, which I think a lot of people are looking forward to a new year, and though everybody thought 2020 was going to be spectacular.
I know, it's true. I know I did.
It's funny to go on to people's websites that had some kind of blog, and you look at towards the end of 2019 into the beginning of 2020, and it's all this, you know, hopeful, and then March rolls around and it's like, you know, it's like the needle across the record type of thing.
Yeah, totally.
Are you pretty hopeful for the coming year?
I am. Yeah. I think that if I was as hopeful as I was going into 2020 and still is turning out the way that it is, that it'll be fine. Like everything will work out. Everything, I'm very much like a huge believer is like everything happens for a reason. And yeah, I just think that this was the way that this year was supposed to go. Just have to learn to deal with it. There's nothing we can do about it.
Right. So, it's totally out of our control, right?
Yeah, you can only control like what you have the strength to do so.
And you seem like a pretty positive, upbeat person.
Yeah, try to be. Yeah.
Have you always been a go-getter?
I guess like not that I have like recognized it in myself. I guess until like recently. I was actually a very like shy person in like high school and middle school. So for me to be as much of like a face in front of a large group of people, it's like I still get sweaty when I get on Zoom meetings. So yeah, I don't know if I've always been like this, I guess, in saying that. It's definitely been like a developed trait.
Does it seem like it's almost a dream if you think about 3-4 years ago and where you're at now? Yeah,
it's weird. Like my whole time out here has just been weird. It doesn't feel real. It's like the never ending story. But like there's no horses getting sucked into quicksand mud or rock monsters or like really terrible
2020's not over yet. 2020's not over. Yeah, the rock monsters may still come. We had killer hornet. No, what were they? Yeah, murder hornets.
Murder hornets.
That rumor lasted for like 2 weeks and then it went away.
2 hurricanes back to back in Louisiana. I mean,
whole state's on fire. It's fine.
California's like, I think it's in ashes now.
Yeah.
So I got a question before Todd takes us down some other road. For the young girl who's in Kentucky that parents say, Just not, arts. There's no money to be made in art. What will you tell her?
That there is money to be made in art, and it's very possible to do. I mean, just being an individual who I was told that you couldn't make any money in art, and then seeing all of these artists around the world making as much money as they're making doing art. Of course, it's like not an easy job. It's definitely like tolling physically, mentally, and emotionally. So if that's what you want to do, you can, like, there's nothing to stop you. There's absolutely nothing that should stop you. So
great advice.
Yeah.
Great question.
Thanks.
So anything else that you'd like to promote or talk about before we sign off for the evening?
I don't think so. I think y'all pretty much pinged everything.
Okay.
Yeah, everything.
And
that
some
I'm
pinged earlier than we were supposed to. I'm sorry. I pinged early.
That's okay.
You always do.
That's just fine.
Oh
man.
Well, Alex, thank you so much for spending a couple hours with us this evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was an absolute pleasure to meet you, and
you as
I'm
well.
looking forward to seeing your work in person and seeing you in person sometime in the very near future. Hopefully at Crush.
Yeah.
And I totally intend to drive up to Westminster and check out those murals that were done for Babe Walls.
Yeah.
Wes,
Yeah,
you have anything?
I just want to say I'm coming from a high five, and
Cool.
and
26th and Larimer is where I'll be.
All right, I'm going to write that down. 26th and Larimer. Okay, we will find you if I have to ask for people.
Cool. Probably be on the lift, and I'll high five you from the air.
There you go. Well, I'll wait till you get down. I'll wait till you come down. I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your evening
absolutely.
to tolerate me and and answer Todd's great questions. You have phenomenal work.
Thank you.
You have a phenomenal future, I think, in what you're doing. And I just am so glad that we had the opportunity to sit down with you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure meeting both of you.
When
Y'all
you
are fun pair.
When you get the next round of the information for Babe Walls, when you know what's happening with that, let us know. We'll make sure we promote it, and we'll push it out on our social media and stuff.
Cool. Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
And if you want to check out Alex's work, you can go to alexandreapangburn.com. And if you want to check out the Babe Walls website, it's babewalls.com. Very excellent
super
website.
Easy.
Super easy. Yes. So for the Tenant Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.